Hello, hello, hello,
Oh
Mr.
snap!
Cruz. Hold on,
Here we are.
I want to expand your. I want to expand your lens. Expand both. Let's see. Expand one spot first. Okay, I'm gonna expand your spot. Let's do this, and then let's go to expand. Expand both. It still won't let me. All right.
Live is quite a tricky beast, isn't it? And what happened to my
Yes, it
camera,
can.
bro?
But you know what?
There we are.
Maybe your camera needs to work. There we go. Hello. Hi. Nice to finally have you here.
Yeah, you can roast me directly.
What was that? Yes. Oh, I just want to say I have watched your response to my video maybe 15 times. It was so funny. Just the mannerisms, and just at the very end, when you're like, "La, la, 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 la." I really like that. You're so good natured. I
Thank
feel
you.
like you got it. I came down on you hard in the first 2 minutes of that post, but then right after, you saw the contrast, and
Yeah, of course.
that was the
Yeah,
bit. And I knew that a lot of people were going to get mad and be like, "Why are you being so mean?" But it's like, I'm not really. And
yeah, yeah. Nah,
it
it's
was,
definitely a clash of different personalities.
yeah,
Potentially, I think it's fair to say we're from different generations.
sure.
Though I'm not a spring chicken.
Well, how old are you? 30?
I'm 30, yeah. How
There
old are
you
you?
go. How old? Okay, I'm 44.
I mean, yeah, it's like half a generation, isn't it?
No,
I'd say, I'd
it's
say
still a
half.
long time, honestly. So just think, you were one, I was 15. So
Yeah,
it's
it's a
quite a
gap. It's a
difference.
gap. It's a
Yeah,
gap.
it
Yeah.
is a bit of a gap.
But it was good. No, so I just want to say thank you
Uh,
for taking the time to make a video about me. For better or worse, for better or worse, uh
Oh,
it was interesting.
that
Let's
was
say.
fun. Oh, it was really like, honestly, while I was making my video, I was laughing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, here we go." And then yours
Yeah,
was just like the piece de resistance. I just listened to it in my car, especially when you're like, "Okay, so thank you for spending 12 minutes of your precious time," and then 2 minutes and 3 minutes of everyone else is attacking me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it was fun. I'll call you Hussar unless you
whatever.
want something else. But you know what, Hussar? By nature, I'm very sort of interactive and friendly, and I really enjoy interaction. But especially when talking about geopolitics, I haven't had the chance yet, not really.
Yeah.
So, what we're doing here today, I'm very glad that you finally decided to shut me up by accepting this request.
Yes,
Because
yes.
just for the people on the live, unless Geo Hussar claims this is fake news, which is fine, but I reached out to you first and said we should do
No,
something.
I
We
reached out to
should.
you. I mean, not about doing something, but I reached out to you first when I discovered your page, and I was like,
Oh
"Hey,
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
agree
yeah.
with you, but this is actually like really
That's
good
true.
stuff."
That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Now,
And
because
good.
obviously we judge things on social media by how long someone's been on their account size. So, for example, I'm maybe some people know who Big Shy is, Joey Contino,
Hmm.
Gio Husa, you yourself, the Intel guy. These are all like fairly regular names for the space we all occupy. So I looked towards you as a more seasoned, more experienced individual. Um, just putting out there for the people in the comments. I'm sure people are going to be like, "Oh, this guy won, that guy won." No, no,
Oh, always,
I,
yeah, that's
I'm not for that life. Well,
the thing. I'm
I
not.
think it's nice to have a variety of viewpoints, guys. I do have a rule, which Hussa, I'd love to hear what you think. My rule is, as long as the interactions are respectful.
Yeah.
Now that's subjective, of course, right? Someone might see my sarcasm and say, "Wow, Mahfouz, you're being very rude." But rudeness, overt, open rudeness is very easy to detect, and I
Yeah.
just I struggle to um, have the patience for
Same.
interactions like that. Otherwise, if we disagree, no problem. You know,
Yeah.
you present your view, I present my view. People listen. They perhaps interact with us, and they come to their own conclusions. I
You
think
know,
that's
one of the like because I'm glad you're saying all this. So during the school year when my kids are in school, I actually try to do as many lives with other creators as I can.
sure. Wow,
Summer,
nice.
I don't have the time. I'm just with my kids,
Yeah,
while my wife is working, and I get to do this. This is how I make my living. So, there's a bit more freedom, but I'm really stuck with the kids and cleaning the house. And I also, we cook, I garden, I garden,
got
I
your
bake
stuff.
a
You got your
lot of our own
stuff.
bread.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm a busy guy, so I don't, but, I, like my wife has a week off this week. That's the only reason why we were able to actually
Um.
do this.
Yeah, because it's the summer holidays, isn't it? So you
Yeah.
should have your kids right now. Yeah.
And
I
another
hope they're
thing,
well.
I just
You
want to
mentioned
add
as
on
well.
to your point because you're right. Like, I think it's very important, especially with who's in office right now in America. It's very important that we listen to dissenting arguments or opposing arguments. So, Intel guy and Rebel Intel, those guys and our politics internally are diametric. We're
I'm aware. Yeah.
antipodal. Like
Yeah.
if I hear them speak sometimes, like justifying like Trump's strategy, I'm just like, oh my god, no, no. Like this should be whiskey, and I'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
But even though God, I disagree with them so much about some stuff, they still bring out very good points about American mistakes, like the past history of American mistakes, past presidential failures or current geopolitical failures that we're making, and perfect example, Rebel Intel will just be like, it's all mafia stuff. Like there's a Russian mafia, there's a Ukrainian mafia. America's done so much covert, corrupt stuff, and it's really, and some of it you can't dismiss because if you look into it, they're right. I mean, America, and I'm sure you'll agree that one of the reasons why, you and I may agree on the geopolitical strengths, but I don't think we'll disagree on the history. Is well, first, no country, the number one power is never a good guy. The good guy never wants to be in charge. I really don't think so. I think if you when you are approaching high positions of power, the good guy gets killed or destroyed because the good guy
Yeah.
is restrained by some sense of morality. And
I hear you. I hear you. It's a fair assessment if we keep things simplified, I would say. So before we carry on, you will have potentially more experience managing a live. When I tried, if some of these guys on here now are some of my followers, you'll know, guys, I trash my lives so badly. Like I just mess up and I get upset because I can't respond to everyone, and everyone's sort of asking questions, and I'm like, let me get to you, and then I'm trying to read the question, and then TikTok's like, nope, and it just goes,
yes, yeah,
and it just goes through. So sorry if we miss any of your comments, but Heval Kurdo, Kurdish champion here, thanks for your support. Everyone else who's thanking us and praising us, thank you to all of you for supporting what we do here. As Hussar, I'm sure, agrees, he actually probably spends more time on his videos. I've seen some of them. His background, just like today, is usually a screenshot or something indicating good research. I don't even put my, I have a zero animation budget. I don't put time into editing my videos.
Well,
So
all I do is
thanks for your support, everyone. Yeah.
I screenshot and then I just put it in the background. So I'm like, so no one can say I'm BSing. I'm like, here's the information right here.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I prefer The Office because it kind of makes me feel more comfortable, and I hope it makes my viewers feel like you're here with me because really you are. Like you could be sitting here if there was space in this box office for another chair. You could be sitting right next to me. You're not sort of in the ether. I'm not in the ether with a green screen. I'm just like sitting on here.
If it works, it works. It
Yeah.
works. That's all that matters. And don't be hard on yourself with lives. And I do lives a lot now. What I've noticed is if you're on a live with a guest like you and me, we just focus on each other unless there's like something glaring in the comments. because
Sure, sure.
that's what the people are watching. If people are trying to comment the same thing over and over again while you and I are talking, it's after a while, it's an interruption. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, but I also want to feel like, because you know, like sometimes I make 5 videos a day, right? It's a lot of research, but sometimes I make only three. But when we're on
Only
a
three.
live, I feel like,
Only
you know,
three 14-minute videos in a day.
yeah, it's a lot to take in. The people who watch it, much respect, and I completely understand if people don't watch the whole things through. But I've just got so much to say. What can I? It's like this priest that famously once said, "Imams, same situation really, because imams in the Muslim faith,
Mm,
every Friday we have a sermon basically like
mm,
Sunday or for Christians, we have a sermon called Jummah,
mm.
and there's a speech spoken at those sermons. Same situation, I think, across both religions, where a priest was asked why he wrote such a long sermon, and he said, "I would have written a shorter one if I had more time." So it is, it
Wow.
actually takes longer. For
Yeah.
those who don't know here, it takes longer to cut things down and efficiently present an argument without losing the wrong things. Because if you just start cutting randomly, you might lose some critical bit of information. So actually, I have not mastered that. I'm an exceptional rambler. Sorry, not sorry though, because like that's just who I am. Like,
You're learning how to distribute the fooziness. That's what's going on. You're learning how to distribute and allocate the fooziness in the right amounts. So
yeah,
more
yeah.
power to you.
Someone's like Team News Baba.
I like it.
You know what happened? Someone watched one of my videos, Hussar, and
Mm.
they said, Mahfouz, if you keep on this track and you continue researching well, you might end up like News Daddy,
Mm.
Dylan Page, very popular individual. He doesn't obviously do geopolitics. He's just like a weird. Not he's not weird. I'm saying he
Yeah.
falls into a weird space where it's just like sort of general news
Yes.
about whatever, and but he's done very well. So someone on the phone said, you'd be like News Daddy, but obviously, you know, different culture, different religion. Maybe News Baba is more suitable.
News
And I
Baba.
started
You
mentioning
should
it.
do it. Absolutely. News Baba. I'll refer to you as that when I talk about you.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
I have a
Just,
Dylan Page
no,
story.
please.
I have a Dylan Page story. So I met him.
Really?
Yeah. We hung out in DC together during the NATO 75th anniversary last year.
Uh-huh.
So NATO invited him. The State Department invited me, and 9 other creators in the country, and we talked for a while. And all of a sudden, we're at a lunch, and he was the one. He was like, you look like Mr. Beast. And I'm like, oh God, no, I've heard that. He's like, no, you're older. You're his father. And I'm like,
That's why you put it in the description.
and he just kept, and we were at a whole table with these other creators, and they're all just throwing on me how I'm Mr. Beast's dad. And then he puts up the video. And I'm like, no. And I'm like,
You actually did a really good impression of Dylan Page. That was not bad at all.
Thank you,
If you
thank
guys
you.
have watched him.
I
And
just heard him say it so much. And so he put up the video. He's like, I know you value your privacy, but just look at the video. And I see it's got like 12 million views, and I'm like, oh God. So now about 20 times a day, I will still get the question, are you Mr. Beast's dad?
wow,
Yeah.
that is, you do. I mean, if you get the claim so often, I'm not making any sort of comment, but I'm just saying, if it comes up so often, there might be something there. I'm not being.
No.
I'll just
I
leave
have
it there.
3 daughters, 0 sons. 3 daughters, 0 sons.
Thanks everyone in the comments who are, just thanking us for our efforts and praising us and wishing us long lives and good health. Same back to you guys. Same back to you, inshallah. You know what, I was gonna say, you know what, Mr. Beast dad? you know what, Hassan? Bear with me.
Okay.
I have a claim on my page.
You have a what on your page?
I have a claim. Something I could probably put on a shirt eventually. It's an accidental thing, but people seem to really resonate with that message. When I say I deliver the news and the analysis, unbiased and without the Western spin. Now, the unbiased, you'd only have to scratch slightly below the surface to get literal or technical and say, Mahfouz, no one's unbiased.
Mm.
And I acknowledge that. But without the Western spin part, I think is much easier to defend. If
What's the
anything,
Western
loads of
spin?
people say you have the anti-Western spin, right? That's just another spin.
What is Western spin?
So Western spin is the filter
Hmm.
that is applied by predominantly legacy Western media
Hmm.
and individuals allowed or aligned with the states in the
Hmm.
West.
Hmm.
The filter that is placed between the end user, the viewers,
Yes.
for example, here, the 150 of us or however many,
Hmm.
and the actual news. So before the news reaches the person, it hits that filter, it starts spinning, and then it hits the person, and the person starts spinning. And before you know it, you think the West can do no wrong, everyone else is the enemy,
Yeah.
and Russia, China, Iran, all terrible, absolutely, needs to be liberated, needs to be given some good old democracy. Unless the Western countries think it's democracy is not right at the moment, then fine, you don't have to give them democracy until it's suitable for you. So it's basically Western propaganda.
Hmm.
And in the English language, obviously, the English language is the language predominantly of the Western world, the North Atlantic nations, if you will, right? America on one side, Canada on that side as well, and Western Europe on the other. In this language, that spin is the primary spin, the primary filter that's applied to facts and analysis and news, any reporting, before it hits the citizenry of these countries.
But
And
there's
I
a
just
mistake.
try to bring the news without that. And I
But
think I
there's a
do a
mistake.
decent job.
There's a mistake because you're assuming that that Western media is a monolith, and you're not pointing out the huge divide between right-leaning media, left-leaning media. Like Fox News will be like America's like, okay, now that Trump's president, Fox News is like America great. We're gonna just do all these great things. We can't do anything wrong. But when Biden president, Fox was like, America's crap. We're on our way down. We're going down the toilet. We suck. We can't do anything right. Look how awful that is. That's like Fox News. And then left media. Well, the thing is, left media will criticize everybody. Like the left wing media, absolutely anything Trump does. Even like I mean, like just it doesn't matter if Trump found a way to get rid of cancer. The left media would be like, no, it's really not that great. And then the right wing media, of course, will just say, yeah, Trump is doing so wonderfully, all that stuff. But even when Biden was president, the left wing media still criticized Biden. It said like it was very neutral about anything Biden got accomplished, like passing the infrastructure bill, or like fulfilling his promise of 100 million COVID vaccinations, the first 100 days and that kind of stuff. So to say that there's just this one Western spin. Look at this perfect example. The left wing media from what I'm encountering is just, and I could say it on a live. I can't say it on a post. The left wing media criticizes Israel and says Israel is responsible for war crimes, genocide, all that stuff. Fox is like, it's not really. It's okay. They should be allowed to finish what they start. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the left wing media. So there is a lot of blatant support for Iran. There's a lot of condemnation for Israel, and then you have right wing media that's like pro Christian nationalist, but also pro Russia, and of course anti China. While the left wing media is like kind of neutral about China. And so,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah.
So, Hussar, what I would respond to that with is, because we started off, for those who didn't exactly follow, just a quick recap. So I said I basically cover the news and the analysis without the Western spin, to which you're responding essentially that the West is not a monolith, and then you picked America. You said even within America, you have the left wing, you have the right wing. They're split on so many issues that really you could call them, they are diametrically opposed on many things, right? But I think as an American, Hussar, with all due respect, of course, but as an American, you're looking at it from a position of internal politics. Whereas what I'm saying is, you have the left, you have the right in America. If you rise above that, if you look from further up, they're still both America. So if you ask people, if you ask officials,
Mm.
congressmen, senators, the president, whichever side he's on, at any given time in American history, if you ask them, what do you think about America's place in the world? Where should it be? You know,
Mm.
do we want to be on top? Do we want the best for our citizens? Do we
Mm.
think democracy is good? You're going to have bipartisan support. You're going to have both sides saying, of course, America's an extremely successful nation. Maybe they'll say America's the best. They'll say democracy is the best form of governance. That's what we live for. A freedom of expression, our freedom of the right to bear arms, maybe bit more Republican than that one. But
Yeah.
the point is, if you rise above what you're looking at,
Mm.
there's another level, which is America as a whole has a grand narrative, is how I describe it. Every country has a grand narrative. And I'm not saying that it was republic, but democracy doesn't operate in China in any meaningful way that you could compare it to, for example, the civil liberty oriented Western nations, right? There you go. There's China. Now, I'm not going to, in the English language, China is already seen by my assessment, as worse than it actually is, whereas the Western nations are seen as better than they actually are. So my objective is to bring the reality of the West back to the middle. Like, oh, the West is not the good guys, day in, day out, 24/7. And the part you mentioned about, the West is not a monolith. I'm not saying it's a monolith, but let me tell you this. Are there not some things that has complete Western world acceptance? We're all on the same page. The West says, the Western government say, we're all on the same page. Let me give you an example. At a government level, is there any Western country, start with America, end with, countries that are not, that have just joined the EU or whatever,
Yeah.
on that spectrum, is there any country that will champion the right of Palestinian resistance groups who I can't really name without closing this thing down? Of
Yes.
course not. Republican, Democrat, every day, all day. There's no reality where they can say, hang on a second, let's look at what they have to say. No, there's no looking at what they have to say. They can't be part of the government. They can't be part of a future administration. I note, for the people on the live who want to investigate later, why don't you look into elections in Palestine? Do they matter to my good viewers here, to your good viewers, Hussein? Because if democracy is the priority, if democracy is championed, there's a dissonance. It doesn't connect for people in the West, for administrations, I should say, in the West, to say democracy is what we champion, but you guys can't choose this group of people or this specific governance model in your countries. We can't let you choose that. It's democracy as long as you don't choose against what we are happy with. You see my point? That's the grand narrative that I counter. If you get deeper and then you look at British politics and German politics, of course, it gets more granular and there's sides to be taken and economic disagreements and foreign policy disagreements. But right at the top, there's a Western grand narrative that says the West is the free world. It is the beacon of light, right? It is the governance models of the West that lead the world in terms of the most advanced, most successful, most progressive ways of living. And I'm here to just say, hang on, let's just challenge that, because the West is currently led militarily, economically, diplomatically by the United States. And the United States 300 years ago wasn't even a country. What's the deal? Look at Russia. Russia's been a country longer. China's been a country longer. Of course, you could say that that was a different iteration. But there's a lot going on there. So I think I can still stand by my sort of anti-Western spin stance.
Even that, you're right about what's going on with Palestine, because certain Democrat, if something is chosen democratically, then who is anyone to really get away if we want to uphold the tenets of democracy? But you could go even deeper than Palestine. You could go into the Middle East. You could go into Iran, like what America did to Iran when they got rid of Mossadegh, even though he was the prime minister and he pushed a lot of democratic reforms. Or even look what America did in South America. Like how many coups did we uphold?
Coups for days. The CIA was just like,
Yeah,
with
like
the coups.
how many hundreds of thousands of deaths did we, brutal, horrendous deaths
Yeah,
did we contribute to just because it fulfilled American interests or Western interests?
sure. Did
You
you
know,
just chew bubble gum, or was that an animation? That was
someone,
an
no,
animation.
I got nothing. Someone just gifted it to me. I mean, I don't know if they're
Man,
trying to
yeah.
send a message, but
Yeah, no, I remember I was getting like sombreros, and I was like in the middle of like a deep
yeah,
like monologue because I talk a lot, as you know, and someone just dropped a sombrero, and I'm like, oh, and I have to say gracias, so
no, that's
I feel compelled. Anyway, sorry, as you were saying.
no. Go ahead. You'll get used to it after a while. Oh, there you are with your damn cup again, Mahfouz.
Bro, the cup's not going anywhere.
Okay. Very good addition in your response. But so the thing is, and I've made posts about this. I've made posts about a lot of the instability that America has openly funded and promoted, and the propaganda that America has spewed that was just untrue. And that kind of goes against what you just said about, the Western spin, because it's true our news media sources won't say this, but it is still common knowledge that America, well, I shouldn't say common knowledge because, look at the Hicks who really don't know much about what we're doing in the world. But to anyone with any interest in history, you could see that America does not actually care about the pureness of democracy. And that's why
But that's not many people who say.
and this is well, thanks. And this is where I will mention Rebel Intel or Intel guy is, yeah, we fund a lot of horror. We've supported. Don't get me wrong, America does a lot of charity work, blah blah blah. But we also destroy a lot of governments that could have been stable just because it doesn't fulfill, I think, corporate or very wealthy interests. Because unfortunately, the way America conquered the world after World War II was with its dollars, was with its economy. And it has been weaponizing the dollar. It has been using the dollar as its dominance weapon since World War II. And it's...
You say that,
yeah.
but it has to be backed up, Hussar, by a military. It has to be.
And
it was.
I wasn't done. And like I said in my post, if the dollar weapon doesn't work, then the military is there with a knife saying, no.
That's right.
Look, we're one of the reasons what makes us so freaking scary is that we're always using our military. One of the things I even say in my post is I'm not terribly worried, bubblegum. I'm not terribly worried about major Chinese assaults just because they are not battle tested. They're not battle tested. They don't really have the logistics. Russia clearly doesn't have the logistics, even though they're battle tested. And America, we're every year for however many decades, we're in some kind of conflict, either hidden or open.
So the Western spin there is America needs to be, right? For the good of the people. We're there to help
not
them.
for the good of the people.
The
Western spin.
Look, you're not the majority.
Yes.
The history Hussar, the understanding you have, the context you have, even within Democrats, even within the half of the country that's Democrat, party-wise, and for those who weren't sure what I mean, in America you have the Republicans, you have the Democrats, right? Even within the Democrats, the average person won't know or acknowledge or truly deeply think about the origins of the United States, what they had to do, what you guys had to do to actually have a, ethnically predominantly white nation. Where the North Americans, native North Americans gone, that's not really talked about, right? You might say, oh, it's common knowledge. It's common knowledge maybe within your circles, but most, I think it's fair to claim that most Americans will think America is always right. America's the one who's the good guy, and we're fighting the bad guys, because that's the media. That's what the media taught them from a young age. What we're doing now, me and you sitting here, and people can watch us, and if we want, we can clip this and post it on our TikToks or on our YouTube or whatever. That wasn't possible 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it's what the media says goes, and what the media is allowed to say, the state has an eye on. And the state will allow dissenting voices within a certain remit. There's a leash. Beyond that leash, you can't say that. Right?
Have you ever been in an American university?
No.
So I haven't been to like all of them, but I travel around, and something that's very common is like in American universities is that we are the bad guy. We are the bad guy. We are the colonizers.
That's right.
We are the rapacious horror of the world. That's like crammed down like American college students' throats, and it's almost like our institutions are really just trying to foment this like outrage that gets us nowhere. When the colleges should be teaching us how to take down the system with our own dollars.
Okay.
That's so. I just
Well, I don't contest that there's dissent, because America is a democracy where there's
no. But
a
it's
great
like
degree of
once
freedom
you
of
get
speech. So
past
you'll have people who can
once you
say,
get past grade school, and once you get past like the fox bird vomit, it's no. We're taught that like we mess up a lot of things. I think what America has is a very broken educational system that like the message, whatever message is trying to be spread, like whatever message of truth is trying to be spread, it falls on deaf ears, and people are much more willing to follow people and content however they can, telling them what they want to hear. And unfortunately, our system is built to like tell us that, to tell us what we want to hear. It's also built to like make us think that we cannot survive unless we are constantly consuming.
yeah,
Don't rely on your neighbor, don't get to know people in your neighborhood, buy everything yourself. You have to consume to survive, consume. And I
sure.
think we need to freaking stop. Like, I don't know if you've seen my posts, but I think if we stop becoming such like voracious consumers, we could actually like terrify our own government into doing what we want.
I think looking at your post, hearing you live now, it's clear that you're not as blindly pro-American or American evangelist, thinking America's the best thing since sliced bread. You're not that person, though there's loads of Americans like that. I want to take the time here, guys, to thank the people who are sending us gifts.
Yeah, thank you for the
Appreciate
gifts.
that. I think I saw a whole bunch of roses be chucked at my corner of the screen. So thanks, guys. Someone suggested we do a weekly. What do you say? You guys should do a daily show, at least 1 hour, 5 days a week. Damn, that's demanding, ain't it? What's up?
Yeah,
Damn,
exactly.
that's crazy.
Like with what time?
With what time? From what angle? Like, you see, I was so flabbergasted that my Indian accent came out, and I'm not even from India. All right,
Where
now,
are you
you know
from?
what? I'm ethnically from Bangladesh.
Oh, you're from Bangladesh.
Yeah,
Okay.
where are you from?
I'm American. I don't talk about where I'm from just because.
No. I know. Operational security. But like earlier on, are you? Can you trace your descendancy back to Europe
Sure.
and
Yeah,
somewhere there?
my father is from Southeastern Europe, and my mother was Danish. But
Okay, so southeast and northeast, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. What? Like Spain, southeast?
no,
Or...
what did I say? Yeah, Southeast. That's like the Balkans. Balkans.
Oh, sorry. I
Greece.
thought southwest. My compass
Okay,
has broken, guys. It's been a long day.
no problem.
Yeah. So you know what, Hussein? I'm not sure what you want to talk about, but I've got something
Go ahead.
I would love to ask you. Geostrategically,
Yeah.
from your perspective as an American with, let's say, unique views,
Mhm.
what do you think of America's role in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and what do you think is likely to happen moving forward? And if you wish to, what's your opinion personally? But you don't have to share that. For
I'll share.
example,
I'll share.
okay.
Yeah. I don't know,
These Americans are so direct, you know.
Yeah, it's me especially. I'm not known personally as a polite person. I'm nice, but I'm not polite. Go ahead, do your thing.
Someone asked I bring the globe out. My wife gifted me this very recently. It's
You're
very nice.
married?
As you were saying, go on.
You're married?
I am married, yes.
Oh, good for you. How long?
Thanks. It's been over a year.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Ah,
Thank you.
do you want to have kids anytime soon, or do you want to wait a little bit?
I have a son. This
Whoa.
this is what happens when you're South Asian Muslim. It combines so that you what basically in our culture it's quite supported or even encouraged, you could say, to have children. You know, as quick as possible. Really, my wife wanted it. I wanted it.
Good for you,
We have a
dude.
son.
Oh man, that's incredible.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's how
Thank
old is
you.
your son? Like what, 6 months or?
He's under 6 months.
Oh, my girl, my
But yeah,
oldest are.
he can't be much older, really, can he?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I just
Unless
don't
unless
like.
you broke some rules. But that's so cool. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
my oldest are 6. My youngest is 4. They're all girls, and yeah. Oh, just it's funny like having the babies. Now I remember, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could go back to those times. 'Cause, like, oh, they're so small and they're so cute and they're just so. But when you're actually raising them, you're like, oh God, kill me now. This is so hard. Oh, why don't you just go to sleep? Why won't you just? What if I just give you some like alcohol? There you go.
Wow. We have a Calpol in the UK. It's got like sedative effects, and sometimes I feel like I think you need some of this. I think you need some of this. You want to go to sleep. Trust me, I'm your dad. I
Wait, so
know.
let me
Anyway,
go back to
so,
that. Sorry, we're getting sidetracked.
yeah,
Russia, Ukraine thing.
they're asking. They're saying, guys, please
I'm
get
sorry.
back to Russia, Ukraine. I asked the question, I teased it, and
Sorry.
then we started talking about our families. So
Yeah, I'm just so happy to hear that, Mahfouz. But okay, let's go back. So, what's America's role in the Ukraine thing? See, I have a pretty sad view on this. I think that America saw an opportunity to use Ukraine as a proxy against Russia, and there you go. Yeah, that's the country.
that's
But
Ukraine.
yeah, that's Ukraine. And like the country Russia should just be called East Ukraine. I mean, duh. But anyway, just kidding. So I think America's just using Ukraine as a proxy to weaken Russia. I mean, and I think there are at least that was the strategy, which is why Biden slow walked the support that he should have given Ukraine like right away. But I think it's even deeper than that. I think it's actually Obama's fault for not immediately mobilizing at least 10,000 like NATO like American troops and maybe all of Europe mobilizing NATO troops on mainland Ukraine after Russia invaded in 2014. So I
So,
think that
so
America. Mhm.
you actually think America didn't support Ukraine enough?
Yes, did not support
Okay.
anywhere near enough. If they really wanted to support Ukraine, Russia never would have invaded in the first place.
And what is your objective?
What is
What
America's
is the
objective?
American objective in supporting Ukraine? Why are they there?
I think there are two camps. I'm not sure if you've seen my video on this, but I think there's one camp that is like, yeah, we're just going to use hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian lives. We're going to have them get killed and do all these things, but it's going to really weaken Russia diplomatically and economically and militarily, like it has done. So now Russia is, in my opinion, it's no longer any major rival to the United States. China is. So what America did is they just really deflated a lot of Russia's power that China could have relied on. Now, but it's, and so China can only really rely on Russia now for maybe some tech, maybe, but definitely oil and some commodities. And maybe China will just keep increasing their leases of Russian land to extract very valuable Russian resources. And I think that's one camp on the American side, just weaken Russia so they get completely drained. And then I think there's the small faction Trump side where they're like, no, we can turn Russia against China. And we don't need Russia to fight Ukraine because we can just use Russia to help us against China. That's what those are the two objectives, I think.
Right. Well,
They're
so
they're opposing. They're opposing objectives. That's my stance.
they are, yeah. I would say I disagree on the framing of that.
Mhm.
I disagree on what's happening here. Well, there's so much to talk about, but let's start with why the heck is America supporting Ukraine in the first place? I'll tell you why. But then, if you disagree, you let me know, and your viewers, of course. Looking at things from a geopolitical perspective, America is an ex-superpower. This is all semantics. One could say it's still a superpower, and China is also a superpower now. But I use superpower as defined as an overwhelming power that has no equal or near equal. In that sense, the world currently, by my analytical
Which
assessment,
power?
has no superpower.
Military power or economic power or both?
It's a combination.
But there's still no military power comparable to ours. And I'm not saying this because America's so great. It's just like, I mean, I've read the facts. I've seen the numbers. I've I was at first impressed with like China's potential 6th gen fighter, but like if you look more into it, it's kind of BS, and it's just a cheap knockoff of either something Russia or America made.
Sure. Well, let's put the contestable argument of whether or not America is still a superpower by way of their military strength being comparable or contestable by another nation. If we can put that aside,
Good. Okay.
so we can continue the narrative, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether or not you agree with this overarching geopolitical assessment.
Yes.
America has moved from superpower status down to great power status.
Mm-hmm.
Comprehensively, it's a combination of diplomatic standing and prestige of the nation, and the military capability and the economic capabilities relative to the rest of the world. So America, about, let's say, 30 years ago, was uncontested. It was uncontested in terms of the world had no other country that could match America and was willing to actually rival it, willing to, at any point, in any capacity, go up against it and actually stand any sort of chance.
Mm-hmm.
The last time that was remotely true was the Soviet Union, which is where you had the Cold War. The Cold War was the last two superpowers faced off, didn't actually end up in a kinetic war, and the Soviet Union collapsed and America won.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've come into a situation where America's fallen from its superpower status into a position where China is now more of a rival and more of a threat than the Soviet Union was.
Yes.
So this is Cold War 2.0.
Yes.
And I see you nodding along. So we're roughly on the same track, probably. In this second Cold War, the situation for America is it's like a person who's been demoted. They're on a lower salary now, but they're still in the mansion they could afford before. So they're kind of operating in an outsized environment now. So when I was a superpower, I had global reach, and I had my home continent, North America, completely locked down. If I looked east, I had Western Europe completely under my umbrella. And if I looked west, I had the island chains and the mainland territories of South Korea and Japan and Taiwan and the Philippines all under my umbrella. And I have full control over everything I want control of. In a sort of paradise situation, I would have more control as America. But I was generally the world hegemon. Now, to move from that into the new reality for America, where it's a great power, not a superpower, and it doesn't have that capacity to be globe-spanning, hegemonic, and uncontested.
It's not a one and only.
It needs to shrink.
It's not a one and only. I get it.
It's not a one and only. It's not I'm at the top, the next 5 guys are my best friends, and then the next 5 guys are all disunited and just like small fry. It's not like that anymore. So in this new world order, one could argue, America has reassessed their priorities. America says, we don't need to be in Europe anymore. Not because we don't want to be, but because we can't afford to be. We don't need to be in the Middle East anymore. Not because we don't want to be, but because we can't afford to be. A great power does not have the same reach as a sole superpower with global hegemonic status, global overpowering status. So, by that standard, America helping Ukraine was like a ghost, was like a whiff of its superpower past, where America's objective was to contain the regional rival, Russia, America's regional rival in Europe. You see, NATO, what is NATO? North Atlantic Treaty Organization. This is not how the Western news presents it, but by the assessment of people far superior to myself, NATO is the American extension into Europe. It's the arm of America in Europe, ready to punch whatever's further east. Now, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, America doesn't need an arm in Europe, but you don't just give up free stuff that you have. So NATO remained. Now, when Russia pushed back against, one could argue, NATO movement further east, America and the Western powers in Europe pushed back and supported Ukraine. But what you're seeing now, by my assessment, by and large, America is pulling back. It's really hesitant to really commit, and that's part of the reason why you didn't see America acting the way you mentioned. What you're saying, America should have sent in troops in 2014. Well, if it was a superpower, very, very likely we would have seen that, but it's not. So it needs to pull out of Europe, not dig its heels into Europe further. It's not in America's best interest to do so anymore. And Russia is not and has not been a threat or a rival to America ever. Literally ever. What I mean by that is the Soviet Union was a superpower. When that collapsed and broke up into 14, 15 different states, because the USSR was made out of these socialist republics that were in a union, Russia was never a threat. Russia immediately demoted itself into, at best, a great regional power. I would say regional power, but because they're nuclear armed in the way they are, I'll say a great nuclear power.
Yes.
So Russia is you have to looking at it from Russia's perspective. NATO was here, then NATO was here, then NATO was here, then NATO was here, and now Russia said in 2014, don't move, not one more step further east. And Western Europe said, they're bluffing, right? They're bluffing. Let's try it, because we don't lose out. Ukraine loses out if Russia calls our bluff. So they tried it. And Ukraine said, we're going to join NATO. And Russia said, this is not going to happen. And they went and they took Crimea. And then Ukraine tried it again, right? Pushed by the Western powers of Europe. I don't know if you know about Boris Johnson in the UK, but Ukraine, when Russia invaded the Donetsk basin, the Donbass, Ukraine was like, okay, we have a great regional power neighbor. We're just going to settle. We're just going to settle with them, right? We're going to establish a dynamic where we acknowledge their power and their sphere of influence, their presence relative to us, small fry. And Boris Johnson of my country, the prime minister at the time, he sort of came in with his ridiculous hair and said, don't worry, we got your back in the UK. And France said, we got your back. And Germany said, we got your back. And so Ukraine was emboldened and felt, okay, I can fight this. Now, hundreds of thousands of, fallen soldiers later, Ukraine is still a battlefield. It's an economically empty husk of a nation, very likely to become a rump state. Why? Because Western Europe was not willing to allow Russia to maintain its sphere of influence, let alone extend it further west, further back west. Russia said, stay where you are. Western Europe said, hell nah. And they started pushing. And America is heading towards the door. I don't know what you think of that assessment, but America is heading towards the door because America cannot be in Europe and the Middle East and face off against China at the same time. It's not something America is willing to do at a geostrategic level.
Let me go in. Well, first, Russia's military campaigns weren't just in 2014 against Crimea. Even in the after the fall of communism in the 1990s, Russia, went into Transnistria in Moldova. America didn't do anything. So was that when America was no longer a power? No. America, like you just said, in that time was uncontested. America didn't do anything. Or in 2000, when Russia went into Ossetia, South Ossetia in Georgia, America didn't do anything. I would still say, by your own definition, we were still pretty formidable, uncontested. And then in 2014, now was in 2014, was that when you think America was no longer the superpower? Or was America
Uh,
still the superpower status?
no, I would not say in 2014 it was.
Sure.
Well, I would say
No, that's fine. Wait, wait,
it's
wait,
it's
hold
not
on.
it's
Hold
not a
on.
black and white on off
Yeah.
switch. It's a gradient, isn't it? So
So
it's
so it's
falling out by a level.
lowering
So
power, lowering.
yeah.
But the thing is, though, we didn't do anything with Transnistria at our when we were like apex powerful. We didn't do anything with Georgia, and I think it's just because we didn't care. We're like that doesn't really pose any strategic significance to us. So fine, what do we care? I think that's what the American powers were thinking at the time. I wasn't there, but that's my guess. Um, and then with Ukraine, that's a bit different because there are a lot of natural resources in Ukraine that I think America and Western Europe want to profit off of. And I think there's also a great deal of oil and natural gas off the coast of the Black Sea, off of Ukraine, which Russia definitely wants to have access to because, they want to monopolize as much of the market as they can. So I think that's why this role was played by America and overall just NATO. I don't think it's because America's military power is slipping. I just think this was kind of like why America was so slow to help the USSR in World War II against Nazi Germany.
Mm.
Like I mean, America was like Stalin was like, "What is taking so long?" And America was like, "Oh, just hold on, just a little bit longer, and then we'll give you the 10,000 fighter jets and 4 million tons of food and 400,000 tons of copper and 400,000 jeeps and you know."
Mm.
So I think this is where I think that America is. I think what this is, and I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's actually a very evil thing. I think it's much more selfish and greedy. That's just my view.
Sure, sure.
That's my view. And then,
Altair says craziest crossover.
right, yeah.
This- it's not the
Um,
craziest.
when the
There's a
reason
lot
why,
there's a lot more crazy than this. You
yeah,
know.
no, what's crazy is that we're agreeing a lot. But I think what's
Yeah.
with the Middle East, the only reason why America isn't really maintaining its presence, and this has been going on for the past 60, 70 years, we've been taking out a lot of our presence in the Middle East just because we're no longer we barely use any Middle Eastern oil anymore. Like over 60% of our oil imports come from Canada. We're also pumping a lot of our own gas. We found billions of barrels off the coast of Guyana. Mexico oil wells are starting to pump up again. So America's role in the Middle East is just like, whatever, okay, fine. We want some stability just because that is still a huge oil hub. And if there's an oil disruption in the Middle East, then the price of oil still goes up around the world. And even that will indirectly make things very expensive for Americans.
So Hussar, your framing of everything we've talked about so far, your framing seems to suggest, or at least it sounds to my ears, like you're saying America's not the blind good guy who's always out for freedom and democracy and liberation. It's that you're framing it as we're only here, we're only there because of resources, oil and mineral wealth. Is that a fair assessment? Because that's how you're framing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And if you've seen any of my lives, even some of my posts, it's like it's not like America is trying to spread freedom. Come on, man. Like what we did in Iraq, like how many hundreds of thousands were killed? Like the torture prisons, or what we did in Vietnam. We literally killed like over 1 million Vietnamese and then just packed up and left. And just
Yeah, so you're not blindly sort of America, an American supremacist or
see, this
something
is
like
how I
that.
could tell you haven't watched a lot of my posts.
I haven't watched a lot of your.
You're busy. You're busy
I
making
haven't.
posts, and you talk a lot. You spend so much time talking. How are you going to have time to watch what I have to say?
Exactly.
You know,
Now,
I mean, but I want to tell you though. I want to tell you one way.
God.
One way I do see America potentially really weakening itself, like weakening itself economically, is with these idiotic tariffs,
Sure.
and the instability that we're causing, the lack of trust in our market. And the fact that our debt is $37 trillion now.
Your debt is right behind you.
Now
Absolutely, yeah.
it's not even
Mm.
now it's not even that the number that scares me. It's the interest rates we're paying off of this debt because
Yes,
and I've been
incredible.
making posts even up to a year ago. I was like, look, the debt, it's bad, but it's not something that can break us because the interest that we've been paying on the debt was starting to drop. Like, and I was like, this is actually sustainable, especially because 75% of this debt is internal. It's actually owned by American
It's owed to each other. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Um, but because of the idiotic tariffs, there's a lot of distrust in even our debt now, especially because Japan has been auctioning off a lot of debt. They're our number one debt holder. It's not China, it's Japan. So
Sure.
wait, no, let me finish. So the fact that we're
Go
still
on, go on.
paying over like 4.3% interest on our 10-year yields, that's like the most common, and just all these other exorbitantly high interest rates on $37 trillion of debt, that can break us. That can, I'm not saying it will permanently wreck our economic strength, but it can definitely weaken it. This can be a catch-up moment for all of America's economic rivals if our economy is mismanaged so incompetently, like I believe it is. So that's really what can lead to America's downfall is the recklessness with our debt, with our deficit, with our tax breaks for the uber wealthy, and then stripping away the overall quality of life for the average American. Like that's something that can really break us. I don't think it's a civil war kind of event, but it's something that can weaken our economic and diplomatic influence. There you go. I just wanted to say that.
Nah, that makes sense. Give me a second because I do have a question for you on China and the US.
Yes.
But I just want to check on my family members. Give me a
Yeah,
moment.
go ahead. I'm gonna get some water. I'll be right back.
Not gonna lie, guys. I thought if I go to check on family, he would stick around. But I don't want to leave you with a completely empty room. So I'm just gonna keep talking. Ha! We've hijacked it. This joke sounds live, but we've hijacked it. There's probably a racist Muslim joke in there, Islamophobic joke in here.
Alrighty.
Oh my God, he's coming back, and it looked weird because he's using a green screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's up? I've got two questions for you.
Yes.
Well, two topics I want to broach, but I'm conscious that we're running out of time. So
I have like
how long
15 minutes.
Yeah. You what? Say that again.
I have 15 minutes.
All right. Let's talk about.
Let's talk about Jesus Christ and how you should convert. Come on, now.
Are you a Christian?
No, I'm not. Not Christian, not Jewish. I'm not nothing Abrahamic.
Oh, because I was ready to have that conversation. I was gonna say, as Muslims, we believe in Jesus.
Yeah, I know.
And I was gonna come at you.
I made a computer program like about 10 years ago where I just made like a dictionary. Not really. Yeah, like a word counter between the Bible and the Quran, and the Quran actually mentions Jesus' name more than the New Testament.
That's right. Yeah.
Also has more mentionings of the Virgin Mary, the word love. I think.
Yeah, we have a whole chapter on
Yeah.
Mary herself. Yeah, called
Yeah.
Maryam. Okay, so my question is on the future of the Israeli state.
No.
I want to know what you, as an American, with your views, think of the future of the Israeli state. What's going on?
I have to be very
Hit us
careful.
with the details, Osar.
I have to be careful with what I say because death threats do come in. I'm also apparently on Israeli news because apparently, I'm on a list of influencers who does not say the name Israel on my posts. I found this out on a live stream, so I don't know if I'm being watched, or actually I'm pretty
You know
sure
what?
I'm being watched.
If you want, I've got another one, which is I wanted to know about China as well, because let's pivot, if you don't mind. Let's pivot to that because
Sure.
I actually know Big Shy, for example. He's a ethnically African gentleman, very hench for what that's worth. If that helps people identify him, He talks about Israel and his life just gets cut off. It's a bit
Yeah.
it's a bit sus. So let's just sorry guys, but we're gonna have to move on.
If I mention it too much,
Yeah,
if I say anything that will either support or
yeah,
detract towards Israel,
yeah, yeah. Even the comments, guys. Let's not talk about this for now. I've got a website coming up. I think Hussa's got alternative media as well. Let's take that for another day. Let's keep that for another day. My question, Hussa, is about China.
Mm.
You see, the way you're relating to me, your understanding of America, it sounds like I feel like a sort of missionary for China now. Are you aware of how one could argue progressively socialist China is in terms of, if I could summarize in one sentence for the people who are going to be, maybe not aware, China's system of China's economic policy seems to be heavily summarized, of course. If wealth is made by the country in America, the lion's share of that wealth goes straight to the top, and maybe some crumbs are given to the middle. And because so much wealth is being created, the crumbs are actually enough to support the middle. And if you're poor, you're dirt poor in America. You're like working two jobs, still somehow living under a bridge.
and it's your fault, and it's all your fault.
And it's
right?
your fault. It's
Yeah,
your fault.
exactly.
You're just not scrappy. And,
You're the lazy full-time
pro-capitalist
worker.
enough.
You're the lazy
Exactly.
job haver.
You just don't have the hustle in you. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, God.
But in China, if wealth is made, the very controlling, for better or worse, state, the very controlling one party, Chinese Communist Party state, will allocate that wealth to the people, making sure that the foundation of the nation is much higher. That's why infrastructure in China, by and large, looks like they're living in 2050, 2060, while you have rats in, America's subway system, and London is somewhere in the middle. It's just, and then you can still get wealthy in China. You can still there's millionaires, there's billionaires in China. It's just that they're not allowed to be rampantly exploitative over the common man. The Chinese state sort of steps in and be like, oh, you can't go that far. You can't be a trillionaire and your workers are working two jobs and still they're not able to get by. The state in China sort of steps in as a sort of paternalistic, fatherly figure. So do you, number one, agree with that? And number two, it sounds to me like you're not really happy with how America is governed, how its economic policy unwraps. But what's the alternative? Because from my understanding, in America, you've got Republicans and Democrats, but Democrats are very establishment as well. And your whole system is governed by, the lobbies, right? You've got big agriculture, big pharma, you've got the NRA, you've got the APAC, and you've got, I think there's a couple of others that I forgot. So you're basically ruled by oligarchs in terms of a democracy where votes are bought, and then the whole system, Democrats or Republican, are set up to take very good care of the 1%, and then maybe the top 10% are doing okay, and then there's really poor people at the end. Is China's system better, Usa?
So
I'm putting him, guys. I'm making him struggle today. He's
no.
I'm kidding.
I want to be nice. So that's why I'm just like, okay. I think there are definitely some tenets that I admire about China, like the fact that China has been able to pull off so much brilliant infrastructure. Like, that is such a great thing. It really does help hundreds of millions of Chinese people, and the vast bulk of that infrastructure is all along the coasts. And the thing is,
True.
I don't just speak with like I read Global Times and South China Morning Post, but I also have friends from China who read the Chinese newspapers in Chinese. I went to school with a bunch of Chinese people, and when I say like a bunch, I mean like half of the people I got my master's with were Chinese. So they'll tell you that, like, yeah, the cities, the coasts are very well developed, but when you go deep into the country, it's pretty backwards. I'm not trying to say, oh, China's bad, but it's like, that's like, they definitely put amazing infrastructure into high priority areas. But I would say overall, as a whole, America is better connected coast to coast. But America's infrastructure in key cities is so behind China. Like New York, Washington, D.C.,
That's
the West Coast,
the economic capital. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We need better infrastructure. Like we
What's
need
going
more
on?
high-speed rails. We need more highways. We need more charging stations, and we do need to switch to more economical means of energy production. Um, so, in that, I think China is nailing it. But that's just remember. I don't know. I I don't see any like Americans like just talking about how great American development is or how far ahead of the world America
Because
really
it's not.
is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't even see even for the things that we're still leading on, like with like Silicon Valley technology, or even like some of the
Mm.
weaponry we produce. It's not a common thing, but I definitely see so much pro China stuff on TikTok for how amazingly developed China is. So to
Sure.
me, that's already okay. Well, the Chinese government is paying for to show this is clearly. I'm sorry. I believe that 100%.
This
Um,
is a this is the Chinese hasbara. Yeah.
what's up? It is, yeah. I mean, if
Yeah.
I if I
Hasbara is
criticize
Chinese
China too
propaganda.
hard, I even get in trouble. But that's
Mm.
not the point. Um, but like when it comes to like what I like about what China does is like if Xi Jinping says, "Hey, we have to do this with our economy," it just happens. Like it's like there may be some delays, but then it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the fact that the banks and the money is terrified. The Chinese banks and the Chinese money, they are terrified of their leadership. And
Yeah.
and
Oh,
American money needs to have that fear from its
they don't.
government, but they don't.
They won't.
And the only way, but what the reason why I think America's system is better is because we have a constitution that can allow us to change things. I don't think that if the Chinese people are if they ever became very unhappy, I don't know if there's much they can do to change it. But in America,
Ooh. Okay.
I really think that like we have to me the Constitution is the greatest document ever written, or at least one of the greatest documents ever written. And we have all
I'm
these rights that
impartial to
protect us.
the Quran myself. But yeah,
Quran, oh, you
carry on.
like the Quran? Okay, we'll talk about that. So
Another day, perhaps. Yeah.
I think we can right now. We need to make our government terrified of us again. Because if our government is terrified of us, then the corporations will be terrified of us. And it's not just corporations, it's corporations and oligarchs. And I think the only way, and I'm going to keep saying this, we need to stop consuming so much. If every American, if all 330 million of us cut down our spending by 5%,
Mm.
that would be a drop in consumption by 5%. The Great Recession in 2008, that was a 2.5 reduction in consumer spending, and like the whole world economy almost collapsed.
Yeah. I mean, do you think that's realistic though, Hussar? Because loads of times I say something
Yeah,
and it really resonates with people because they're like, oh, Mahfouz has just said something that sounds realistic. He's not coming at us like an
yeah.
activist. He's
It's
just dropping facts.
yeah.
So does that sound like how do we
Okay,
get
how about this?
what you
In
said about
2015,
America?
in 2015, did you think it was realistic for Trump to get elected? I would never have thought in 2015 or 2014.
I would have thought, yeah,
Good for
because
you.
what Trump does is he's a
Yeah,
populist. He
yeah,
appeals to the proletariat, the working
yeah,
class. He appeals to them
yes,
by saying what you've got is not a comfortable life. You deserve better.
yeah,
And people really resonated with that. They
yeah,
Trump talked about hating on the establishment. People were like, "Yeah, I hate the establishment. They're giving
yeah,
all the money to the. I'm
yeah,
working hard, but it's just my boss that gets the profits or the CEO right at the top."
yeah,
What people didn't expect, of course, was Trump came in and then he just took very good care of the top anyway.
yes,
Like he didn't change anything. It's not like he came in and actually supported the proletariat.
yeah,
His voter base, who
yeah,
voted him in, are not taken care of by him.
yeah, yeah.
So my question, Hussar, to wrap up basically, because I know you have to go, but my question is, how do you get to what you're saying? So you're saying there's an option in America to strike fear into the administration. What's the point of having an option if it's never gonna realistically happen?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. There's. I think we are going to face a drop in consumption anyway, just because our exports are dropping, our imports are dropping, prices are rising. Like inflation is rising on the producer side and the consumer side. So people are already going to be consuming less just because they're not going to be able to afford.
Yeah, because they're so poor. Yeah, that's not gonna. How's that gonna fix things though? Like,
Oh, sure. Because this is the largest consumer base on the planet,
Mhm.
which means like, and $18 trillion a year of consumption take place in this country, right? Everyone wants to sell to America, including American companies. And we need to keep consuming to keep the velocity of money fast.
Sure.
If that doesn't happen, and the, like, if inflation keeps going up, and then all of a sudden, thank you very much for the glasses, inflation will keep rising until it crashes down, and then we go into deflation.
Sure.
That is when prices fall. And deflation, of course, is bad for people because layoffs happen, but it's extraordinarily horrible for our government because even though the value of the dollar increases and prices drop, the value of our debt stays the same, which means we're paying disproportionately more for the debt that we issued. And the government can't have that. So if the people actually, put the threat of potential deflation into our government, like what happened in 1949 after World War II when the economy started contracting again,
Sure.
Harry Truman doubled the minimum wage because
Right.
we had a labor pool.
I didn't know that. Okay, sure.
And I think we need something like that again. We need to threaten the economy.
So is a fair summary to say you think the American economy is going to reorient from, catering only to the top, is going to reorient to taking better care of the rest by going through economic Armageddon?
Yes. If the people can actually threaten economic Armageddon, threaten it,
but
not
it'll be like
deliver it.
threatening themselves. It's like, oh, I'm gonna stab you, but through myself. Like you're gonna be like, is that what you're...
See, that's the thing.
Okay.
That's the thing. Will the knife actually reach their own belly? Because if like it's like your kid. Imagine if your kid's doing this, your kid's finally like, look, I'm gonna do it. As soon as the kid starts making the move, you're already throwing your hand in the way to stop it.
Sure. Okay. Interesting.
I mean,
I
it
see.
sounds very. What was that?
I see what you're saying. Is the threat of economic collapse that's going to sort things out? Okay.
Well,
it's a
I don't think. See, the thing is, it's that it requires everyone to do it. It's because I think it's going to happen either. It's either going to happen in through a movement where we're going to do it, or it's going to happen just, hey, everyone's broken, we're losing everything, and consumption's going to crash down anyway.
It's interesting. I mean, I would recommend, if I can, a book on how China's economy works.
Yeah.
Because I think it's quite nebulous to most people, especially us in the West. This is what I've been reading at the moment. It's probably back to front, isn't it?
Yeah.
It looks like it's written in Mandarin. No. It says
the new Chinese playbook.
Yeah. Is it not back to front?
No, it is.
Oh. Right. It says the new China playbook, beyond socialism and capitalism. And it's an interesting read. So, I mean, it's a good... there's a lot to talk about. I think China's doing a lot. Lots of people, for example, in the comments have said, most Chinese are dirt poor. You yourself, Usaj, said the inland of China is not like the coastal cities that thrive on the export market of that has supercharged the Chinese economy. That's true. But looking at the trajectory of the Chinese state, in 40 years, what they've achieved took Western Europe, I think, 200 years, probably, in terms of industrialization. So, the inland is delayed, but the rate of growth of the coastal areas of China is just so far beyond any other part of the world at any other point in time that, by comparison, the inland looks bad. But China still, lifted, I think, 600 million people out of
800
poverty.
800 million people
in one generation, right? Exactly. And lots of people are talking about low salaries. The thing is, purchasing power parity-wise, GDP, purchasing power parity, China's beyond America even now. China's seen as the
only problem with PPI, PPP.
Yeah.
The only problem with PPP, especially, and let's be honest, China isn't as open with their information as some Western countries. It's more open for addition, for massaging the data. That's one. But it's true. There's even that being said, though, China does have more purchasing power parity. They absolutely do, much more than the United States. I
think China's at like 40 trillion. Yeah. So
40, maybe. I'll take your word for it. So and wages are they have risen very, very quickly in China, which is why both the Chinese and American companies have been trying to move a lot of their factories to Mexico because it's
Yeah,
still
or
more
ASEAN,
difficult.
or yeah, some other part of the, or
Yeah,
India. That's right.
yeah.
For those who are saying in the comments, by the way, look it up. China GDP purchasing power parity is way ahead of America now. They crossed past America years ago. So I
But the
don't know
thing
what
is,
facts people are
but
looking at.
then the other side of this coin is that's very nice, but China is still dealing with deflation. They're still
That's right.
dealing that's and the government is still struggling with it like tumultuously. There's still deflation happening on the producer side, and the deflation around the consumption side, it's like between 0 and then negative zero point 0.5, then zero point 0.5. That's a huge problem, and China can't just print money as freely as the United States because even though
It's not the dollar.
when they yeah, what was that?
Because it's not the dollar.
Yeah.
They can't just print it.
Yes, exactly. They can't just print it. Like, for one, they want to keep the prices of their exports low, but they can't keep it too low.
Yeah.
If let's say it costs like 8 yuan for $1, then that really harms China's ability to import. So
It's a balancing act.
yeah,
Every government, Hussein, as you know, deals with their own
yes,
problems. China's government aren't particularly unhappy, full stop, with deflation, because
yes,
deflation allows them to export more effectively, and China is a huge exporter, right?
yes, but they're also facing massive tariffs for what they're trying to export, not just from
Yeah.
America, but also from Europe.
Well,
So
yeah, but the trajectory shows that China has and continues to diversify away from America in
yes,
in a way that will allow them to not suffer as badly from tariffs. Let me just give you a statistic. For
I've
example,
said that.
ASEAN.
Yes,
Yeah. Let me just give the people a statistic. ASEAN countries, which I made a post about, I think, earlier today. That's the sort of Indonesia, Malaysia island chain. China exports more to ASEAN countries now than to America. America, with this really wealthy, population, China exports more to ASEAN. America makes up about 15-16% of Chinese exports now. So if there was a tariff war that basically closed all the American ports, Los Angeles says not a single Chinese ship. First of all, America would struggle badly, but China would arguably not struggle as much as America, because China has 85% export targets left, whereas America would suffer a lot because everything material is made in China, right?
the problem with what you've just said is we go back to the size of America's consumer base, which is $18 trillion. That is larger than China, India, Japan, France, and Germany and the UK put together.
Sure.
So, and the thing is, it just like it's not really possible to substitute that trade gap with a bunch of other much smaller economies. And like you said, about 16% of Chinese exports went to the United States. I didn't know it was that high. I thought it was maybe like 14. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, because I
Yeah.
know last year the exports were about like 16, 17%. I expected it to drop a bit more, but okay, I guess not. But it kind of shows how economically interrelated these two countries still are.
Of course, of course. They're very
And
tightly linked.
yes,
Very
and the
tightly.
thing is,
Yeah.
China, again, they've come a long way, but they've also over invested in manufacturing, like they've over invested in real estate. They produce enough electric vehicles, I believe, to supply all of Europe and Asia's like electric vehicles, but they're being heavily
Yeah.
tariffed by Europe. They
Yeah.
also have so much petrochemical processing capacity. I think they could do it for all of Asia. And there's just not this, especially now with the cheap price of oil. They just don't. There's not that need.
But you see, the global South countries, though, Hussa,
Yeah.
they're advancing economically. So
Mm.
eventually there'll be that market. So if anything, China's just ready to jump
Yes. See,
on more
eventually they'll be
consumers.
ready. Eventually, but we don't know how long, especially with all of these economic slowdowns. And you can't just keep these petrochemical factories running for
True,
like
true.
3 or 4 years. Like, it's gonna happen.
It's
Don't
gonna happen.
stress.
Let's just carry on, boys, until it happens. Yeah,
I think I think what's going to happen is like I'm see, we don't want too much of an economic contraction in China because that will hurt the whole world. China's such a large and influential economy. Like, and I've even said this, like China's economy is in trouble and it's not good for us. It's like when I say China's economy is in trouble and I hear a lot of Americans go, "Oh, right." It's like, "Oh, you want to lose your job? You want what are you doing?"
We're too interconnected. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I
Someone asked,
think
you guys best friends now?
yeah, exactly. Call me, I don't know, call me like a colonizer and I'll call you a terrorist, whatever you want. You know, let's heat things up.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think China and America are both in trouble. And really the solution is each other.
I don't know. I don't think they're both in trouble. I'll be honest.
I know.
Actually, yes, they are both in trouble. But I think, Hussar, and
I
this is
gotta
the
go in a
last
minute.
thing
1 minute. My wife just gave me the death look. Okay, 1 minute, and you get the last word.
I think what I was going to say is there's a war coming, potentially, because we're in Cold War 2.0, China, US, right? I think China doesn't want that conflict, but the US might push itself into it if certain people are in government at the wrong time, or the stars align. Unfortunately, then the US, in its falling star trajectory, falling superpower, might want to stay in first place and drag the whole world into war to try and maintain that first place status. I hope that doesn't happen. We need to talk a lot more.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, Hussa. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'll bring in 2 other people. I'll bring in those conservatives I mentioned because
let's do it.
We definitely should. It'll heat things up. It won't be so friendly.
Yeah.
All right, great. It was great talking to you, Mahfouz. Everyone, please give Mahfouz a follow. This was a really great discussion, and watch some of his content if you have a few hours to kill. Talk to you later.
Very funny. Take care,
everybody.
guys. Take care. Wow, the roast. Okay, how do I turn this off?